Coach, you're probably going to hear a lot about this, but the quarterback competition, I guess it's been a few days of practice now. What are your initial thoughts, especially now that you have Peyton on the field?
Yeah, I've been pleased with their progression and what they're doing. I think they're understanding what we're trying to do offensively a little bit more, especially the little unique parts of it. We still got a long way to go before we figure out who's going to be our starting quarterback. But I think all of them have shown flashes. We got to be a little bit more consistent. I think we're doing a better job of making sure that our eyes are getting in the right spot, and getting our reads from that standpoint. Been pleased on the last couple of days, especially in our RPO games, how they're taking advantage of some opportunities when those present themselves. But, there's so many factors that go into being a quarterback. And it's not just about the way you're throwing it or hitting the deep ball or working through your progression. There's the leadership side of it, and you got to control all of those factors. So we're still a long ways to go before we figure out who that's going to be. But I've liked the progression that we're making and the progress that we're making, and we just got to continue to keep doing that each and every day.
Coach, talk about the wide receiver play. How are some of the new guys fitting in, and maybe some of the holdovers that have stepped up early on?
Yeah, I really feel like the last several days, practice 2, I thought I saw some sparks in there and guys making some plays, and I think they're building each and every day. We got to be a little bit more detail-oriented in some of our routes, making sure that we're pushing to depth and understanding spacing and where, the grass and the holes and zones that are going to sit, finding those areas. And then, some of the pre-snap things where we're getting certain looks, being able to take advantage of that. That's just the details of what we do offensively. But I've been pleased with the progress. I think we're really battling at the top of our route. We're putting our foot in the ground. We're coming back. When we have the ability to go deep, they're taking advantage of that. And so I've been really, really pleased with that side of it. They just got to continue to keep coming. We got to be a little bit more consistent with our hands and our depths of our routes. But I think they're making really good progress right now.
He already asked my question.
Yeah, I've got one, of course. Ron was just saying, we were talking to Ron just a minute ago, and he said he had 16, 17 guys he feels pretty good about. He's trying to add another 7 or 8. As an offensive guy, do you look at it that way? I mean, do you have 16 guys that you trust right now, or is it different?
Well, for us, we got a lot of battles going on for positions, right? Whether you're talking about the receivers, whether you're talking about guys up front, we got a quarterback battle going on. Running backs are really, really doing a great job. But, as a running back, we're probably going to be a little bit more by committee in that sense. Our tight ends have really added a factor to us. We've got some really athletic tight ends and finding unique ways and good ways to get them the football and get them involved. And so I think we've got a lot of depth that we've got to continue to keep building on, right? And we're going to see those guys start separating themselves as camp goes on. But I think we've got the battle parts of it, I think has kept guys really in tune, really focused, and really growing as a group, and we got to continue to do that as an offensive unit.
Coach, you and Coach Freeze both have operated offenses that ran at a very high pace. Do you have aggressive goals for tempo with the offense here at Auburn?
Well, we do. Obviously, we've got to make sure it's matching up with our personnel and what we're going to be as this football team, offensively, defensively, and special teams, but we like to play with pace. I think our guys getting used to that, that's a totally different way of playing offense than a lot of them are used to. And so I think we're doing some good things. We got to get set faster. We got to get our eyes back on the sideline quicker. And then we've got to really mentally rep that play in our head in a manner that when we're set, we understand what's fixing to happen, what's fixing to go on, and how to react to what we're getting defensively. And so that comes with progress. That comes with reps. I think our guys are doing a better job of it. But, yes, we would like to play that way.
You mentioned running backs just a moment ago. Damari and Jeremiah specifically is 2 guys that haven't played a ton of college football yet. Jeremiah hadn't played at all, actually. Just what have you seen from them so far in fall camp and just their progress early on?
Yeah, I think we've got a talented running back room. Those guys, each one of them are bringing different things to the table. And when you start talking about Cobb, he had a couple of really good runs today. You see it. He's got a burst. He plays with speed. He's got good vision. The biggest thing for him as a freshman is just, he wasn't here in the spring. So just trying to figure out what the process is, how to play fast, how to see things. You think it's fixing to be a big gap, and then all of a sudden you wait, you delay, that thing starts closing in a hurry at this level. So understanding when to put your foot in the ground, and you got to run through some things and stay up in that run scheme and not feel like you got to bounce some things and always try to get outside. So I thought he has done a really good job, but you look at our backs, I thought Brian had some good runs, Damari had some good runs. I mean, all those guys are contributing, and I feel good about where they're headed right now.
Philip, Hugh has said it would be about 5 days of kind of equal reps at QB and then trim things down from there. Kind of what is your perspective on what y'all are going to do to maybe go back and take a look at things and then trim it down? And what are you looking for from them in the scrimmage on Saturday?
Well, I just want to see somebody take control and really, take a step forward, right? Separate themselves. And that's what you're looking for in your quarterback position, a guy that's going to lead, a guy that's going to make plays. He doesn't have to be Superman, but he does have to be consistent in his play and his decision-making and taking care of the football and then moving us down the field and staying ahead of chains. When we do that, then we're always going to be effective. And so the quarterback that does those things at a more consistent pace will be the guy that's going to win the job. And so, like I said, right now it's too early to call it. I think they're all competing. I think they're all doing a great job of that. But we still got a little bit of time, thank goodness, and then we got to figure it out from there.
Philip, I know you guys hadn't put on full pads, gone through those things, but what have you seen from the offensive line to this point, and how far has that group come since you guys stepped on the field for the first time in the spring?
Yeah, they've come a long way and still are. We still got some new faces up there, guys that are working in. But playing offensive line is all about gelling as a unit, right? And we got some great battles that are going on up front right now. And guys are feeling that pressure of, hey, I got to be on top of my game each and every day. But for us to do what we want to do offensively, those 5 guys have got to lead the way for us. And so it's a vital part. I think we're going to develop a lot of good depth in this competition era that we're in right now in fall camp. But it's vitally important at some point in there, guys start separating and those guys start gelling and getting on the same page. And let me say this, I mean, we're, 4 days into it? We still got a long ways to go. We're trying to install, especially in our run game, we're trying to put in the foundation of it, right? So we don't have a ton of run game in right now, but we want to make sure Ron's giving us a bunch of different looks and a bunch of different movements, which is great for us to be able to kind of grow and teach off of and coach off of. And those guys have done a good job of handling that.
Coach, having been around this game a pretty long time, you've seen.
Thank you for calling me old.
Well, I've been around it a lot longer than you have. So.
Hey, I treasure it. Every day's a blessing, baby.
But have you over the years really adapted to the sometimes radical changes in the way the game is played?
Honestly, that's been football all the way through, right? I mean, everybody's looking for an edge. I remember when, Yeoman and those guys all of a sudden went to the triple option, and that changed the game. And then defenses, they studied up on that, and then it kind of made its way through. And the game is always ever evolving, and we want to try to stay ahead of the curve and find unique and good ways to get our guys in opportunities to have success. That is our challenge as coaches, is to coach guys up, lead them, grow them, but put them in situations to have success. And so I love that part of the game because it's the chess match. This is how they are defending us. How can we take advantage of it? And then we got to go out and execute and be on the same page to get that done.
Obviously, we've seen Peyton and Robbie as starters before. We haven't seen Holden. From your perspective, what does he bring that's, I guess, a little bit different than the other two, and what does he need to do better if he's going to be the guy?
Well, I don't know that I'd say that he does better than the other two. I'll talk about his strengths, and I think he is a natural thrower. Ball just zips off of his hand. He stands tall in the pocket. I think he's doing a really good job of working through his progression, putting his eyes in the right spot, and not hanging too long. I think he has the ability to do some things with his feet, be able to get outside when things break down. But the best part of his game is mentally being on point with what he's got. And then I think, again, his arm is really natural when it comes off. He spins it tight. He can hit small windows. He can push the ball down the field. And I think he does a great job of that.
Back to the receivers, the new guys, Caleb, Shane, and Jair, are they settling into spots? It looked like Caleb's getting some work both in the slot and outside.
Yes, I think all three of those guys are doing some really good things. You started with Caleb. I think he does have the ability to play inside out. He's really fluid, natural route runner. I think, he's coming from a coaching family. His dad's been a defensive coordinator in Texas for a lot of years. So he's grown up around the game, so he understands spacing. He knows where to find holes and get into them. He's got really smooth, natural hands. And so for him, it's just picking up the offense, and he's been in the film room all summer long. I mean, he stepped out on the field and I thought really did some really good things as far as just being able to pick up a sign, know what he's got to do from an assignment standpoint, and then go out and executing it. Still got to continue to work him in. When you start talking about Jair and Shane, I think both of those two guys, day one, I think their head was spinning a little bit, and then I think they've settled in each and every day, and you look at some of the plays that they've made throughout the last couple of days, they've really kind of started bringing some attention to themselves. I thought Shane really had a good day yesterday. Had a couple of big catches, some high point things, some back shoulder things, really natural in that way. He's a long receiver with huge hands, but did some nice area work right there. Jair, again, you just see him every day making improvement, making good decisions within his route, being physical at the top of it, knowing how to separate, and does have the speed to get over the top. So those guys are going to continue to get opportunities. We want to see them continue to progress.
With Burton, going back to him, just his background being a guy who went to Ohio State and they have that kind of tradition. What has it kind of done for him to be able to plug and play kind of immediately? Just, you also talked about his dad being a coach as well, just being able to pick up things really quick.
I think for him it's just the understanding of the game, understanding how to be a professional about it. I mean, he's one of the hardest working dudes. I mean, this summer, he's getting his lifts and he's getting all the extra parts of it. But, I mean, he is in there. He's on the jug machine. He's on the Monarch. He is getting with the quarterbacks. He's just every day, it's almost like you've got to, all right, it's time to leave the building. Go get you some rest. Go get you something to eat. He's that type of worker, and he's very professional about the way he handles his business. So I think more than anything, his discipline in that sense is the thing that is kind of progressing him up.
Another receiver question. We've heard Jay Fair's name a good bit here at the beginning of camp. Where has he maybe progressed from the spring till now? And I guess, when you took over the offense, what did you see out of his skill set that you liked?
Well, I think he's electric, right? And I thought he put on some good weight and some good muscle this summer. Dom's done a heck of a job with those guys. But as you look at Jay, I think he's playing with a lot more confidence, playing a lot faster, being decisive in his decisions. He's always had good hands. He's not scared of anything. So if it's catching the ball across the middle, he doesn't mind it. You put the ball out there on the edges with him in any type of now screen or whatever, he's a step away from breaking it. And so I think he's just accepted his role and not acting like, hey, I'm not a guy that's got a ton of experience type deal. I'm stepping in here with a mindset of trying to go win a job and be the best player I can be and help our football team win. And I think he's done a good job of leadership in that way.
You mentioned holding strengths. Where have you seen Robbie since the spring, his progression through the summer, and kind of what he's shown up these first few days?
I honestly think Robbie has thrown the ball better this fall camp. I've seen him progress in that manner. He's hit a good sum of deep balls. He's been a little more consistent on his underneath stuff. And that's an area that he wants to improve, and he's got a big arm. But it's the consistency of the fundamentals that kind of go into that part of it, and he's worked really hard on that. But I think he has really operated. I think he's doing a really good job of trying to lead and be positive and do the things that we're asking him to do. And he comes out. He loves competing, so he's going to come out and compete every day. When he pulls it down, you better hold on because he can do some things with it from that standpoint. So, but I think his biggest progression has been probably in the throwing side of it.
Sticking with quarterbacks, first opportunity to work with Peyton Thorne, what would you say his strengths are so far?
Yeah, again, I'm going to go back and kind of reiterate what I talked about a little bit from one through the receivers. You want to talk about a guy that is professional about the way he goes after his work. He's another guy that you got to run out of the building. He's always watching tape. He's always studying. He's at home. He'll text me, hey, what do I read on this, or what am I doing on that? I saw this on tape. You know, how are we progressing through this? He wants to be on top of every detail that is involved in our offense. And he's seeing things right now at a really good rate. And you got to remember, he wasn't here in the spring. And so some of the things that he's picked up on, and we've got to get everybody else around that to be on the same page with him. But I think he does a great job with his leadership. He's disciplined, and he's professional about what he does.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you all. Appreciate it, guys.
Well, thank you guys for coming. Appreciate you guys doing this.
If you guys have a question for Coach Roberts, please raise your hand and we'll get a microphone to you.
We're good? Good? You want me to give an opening, or?
Jason.
All right. Somebody gonna fire away?
How have you seen the response since the spring, and I guess adding a lot of new faces too? How have the first few days been in trying to get everybody up to speed?
Yeah, I think it's been a drastic improvement from the spring, just because I think the guys did a good job this summer, studying, learning, a much better job of knowing what to do and having ideas of their assignments coming in. So we're a lot further along than we were by the last of spring. You know, we still got a ways to go. I mean, we got to continue to make those strides. But right, so far it's been a pleasant surprise, really, for the work ethic and things the way we've done, and everything we've emphasized, they've answered. So.
Front right, Coach. You guys had a couple of edge rushers, Jalen specifically.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask about him. Just a guy who's not necessarily like traditional pass rusher size, but he's definitely done it at a high level. Just what does he bring to the table for y'all?
Yeah, he's a special talent, especially when it comes time to pin it back and go rush. Now, we haven't done any real third down stuff, so everything he's done right now has really been sitting on first, second down, so he hasn't really had the opportunities to do those. But he's been very productive every practice, really, when he gets opportunity to rush the quarterback. Did some things today, and he's got a good, his physical tool set's pretty amazing. You know, he's a very talented individual. We just got to get him on the right track and make sure I'm putting him in the right spots.
What have you seen? What have you seen out of the linebackers so far in camp?
Yep. Linebacker core, again, I think we kind of got a pretty good competition there. I don't know how it's going to pan out, you know. We just got our second day of pads in, so we're going to have to see how that goes. But we got about 6 of them that are competing. And I kind of almost see it right now as nobody's really stepped up and pulled away from the pack. So the emphasis there we kind of gave to them is that one is they've got to be productive and consistent on every down. That's the heartbeat of any defense, you know. I kind of emphasized with them last night about doing a much better job of communicating. They all did that. That's great. But I think the things right there that we've got to do as a whole is make sure communication is good, putting the rest of the other 11 at ease, and being alignment, assignment, those type of things, and then. You really want to see those guys, elevate. This is a linebacker-driven defense. There's going to give them a lot of situations. They're one-on-ones. They're scraped to they're going to be the free hitter at the point of attack, and they've got to answer the bell and be productive.
Second row in the middle.
Coach, with so many new faces beyond just all the transfers, but compared to the spring, there's 20 new players that weren't here. How has it been installing your defense with them, and now that you have them on the field, and how is that? What is the process of putting that together?
Yeah, well, most of them were here all summer, which gave them a huge jump start on the mental part. The whole summer focus was really knowing what to do, in the defense, knowing and then we kind of focused, obviously in the fall, of how, and then the situations that we have to make adjustments to. But I think that part. I think those guys did a good job. I think the guys are all blended in. We got some freshmen. Obviously, the heads are spinning. It's early part of fall camp. Their heads are spinning. There's a lot at them. The tempo, probably of practice, is a head spinner. For a lot of the high school kid comes out and it's not like anything they've seen. So the young guys are making it. Obviously, it's a huge adjustment. We're probably not gonna be able to judge them until it's day 7, 8, 9. So when things slow down a little bit and they get it clicking. But,
Ron, you've been at this a good while.
Because it's the hair. Is that what you're saying?
But how much of a challenge has it been over those years to adapt as the game has changed on both sides of the ball, really?
Yeah, it has. You know, I love that part. I mean, I love football, you know, so I love studying and seeing what's new and what the trends are. And it has changed so much that if you're not, that's the way this game is. I mean, so if you're not up on the latest things and what to do and what's the offense trying to do to attack you and how you're going to adjust to it and handle it, you know, you can fall behind real quick. I love that part of it, and I think our kids are really enjoying it and figuring out, you know, what we really want to do is we want to raise our football IQ as a defense, and not just, we talked about being a four-dimensional player, about knowing my job, knowing everybody in my room's job, but then, you know, knowing what the offense is trying to do and how they're trying to attack us. And, you know, I think those things, as we develop the IQ defensively, things will slow down for a lot of them. We'll go see our kids really progress.
Ron, what are some things you guys are looking for in the first scrimmage on Saturday? What sort of test does that provide for your defense this early?
Yeah, first thing there's two basic things. We talk a goal coming in the spring. So, hey, we got to eliminate unforced errors, pre-snap errors. Like, can I get lined up right? Do I know where my eyes are supposed to be? You know, do I know what my key is? You know, those basic things, right? And then the second one is the tempo of the game. You know, biggest thing a big emphasis today was, you know, is playing fast, figuring out how fast you can play. You know, and playing at a different speed of this game, and that takes time to develop. It really does. You know, so I thought our kids did a good job answering that. You know, and that will be the emphasis the next 4 days. Eliminate the pre-snap penalties. If you ain't in the right spots, you can't get lined up. Hey, we got problems. You know, that can eliminate a lot of mistakes on defense just because people can't adjust the formations properly, or kids can't get precise on their alignments. You know, and then the other thing is just the speed we play the game at. That's going to be the big goal going through this spring. Or through the fall camp. Yeah.
I think the other day we saw with Keldrick maybe working a little bit at defensive end. How capable is he to move around that defensive front for you guys?
Yeah, well, again, he played jack most of the spring. A lot of our four-down stuff, it's the same thing. So he was doing it half the daggum time. So we moved him to end. He's 290 pounds, you know, by summertime. So he's kind of he's filled that spot. He's in there right now fighting for the job. You know, I don't know how it's going to pan out over the next, couple weeks, but he's going to be an impact player for us this season. Yeah.
Hi, Ron. Brian Matthews here. What have you seen out of Bobby Jamison-Travis, the JUCO defensive lineman, and where do you see him fitting in, and do you think he can help you guys out this fall?
Yeah, he's a special talent on tools. You know, he has all the talent and stuff. He was not here with us this summer, so he's a little far behind. So we're trying to play catch up with him on a mental standpoint, what's going on and what he has to do. He will impact and he'll be a big part because he's a talented individual. So he's got to play himself into shape. He wasn't here for the summer conditioning, weightlifting, all that kind of stuff. Probably a little bit out of shape, a little behind mentally right now. So we haven't really seen what he's capable of doing.
Ron, Brian Stoltz. What have you seen leadership-wise from Keontae and Nehemiah in the secondary?
Yeah. Both of them, along with there's about 6-7 guys that we kind of lead on that they are, the leadership right now is probably more so from how they conduct their business. We would like it to step into more so how I can lead the individuals on this football team to become better. You know, I think we need to take some strides forward on that. You know, if I'm being blunt about it, we got to take strides forward. The idea of leadership is how can I help others around me, be the best they can be. How can I lead someplace they can't go by themselves? And so they're doing a lot of things of being the player on and off the field that we want them to be. I need them to pull other people with them.
Second row in the middle.
As following up on that, we saw in the practice last week that it seemed at least like some freshmen were shadowing some of the more veteran players in the secondary, especially. I guess, has that been something you've been doing to try to? You talked about the freshman's head spinning earlier.
Yeah.
Has that helped them kind of get their feet under them?
Yeah, we want them to get as many reps as possible. A lot of times so anytime we get in those situations we can do it, we're trying to get them behind a veteran so they can see the alignments, the adjustments. What should they sound like? What kind of communications should they be making on the field? How can they talk to each other? You know, and those things will hopefully help bring them on a lot faster.
Time for a couple more here on the front. We've seen a couple times, we saw some in the spring when y'all have Jason and Justin both on the field at the same time down the middle. So what does that do for defense to have two guys like that big to be on the field right next to each other?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're both really good. They're both really good players, and you're gonna need that in this conference. That's what it is. It's a man's conference. Especially up front. And that the D line, O line, D line, those guys up front kind of set the tempo of the ball game. They're gonna control it for you. Skilled guys can make big plays, but you're gonna win the game up front. So the more of those guys we got playing that category that can play big, play physical, control the line of scrimmage, we're gonna be in better shape.
Ron, I remember in the spring you said you wanted about 25 guys that you really felt like could contribute at any given moment within the defense. Where do you feel like you guys are at right now, and kind of what's the progression of getting guys who you think can contribute in the 2D?
Yeah, well, if you today, as opposed to where I'm going to say in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, it should be probably drastically different. But right now, I would say we're probably at the 15, 16 mark. There's 7, 8 guys. They got to figure out the tempo you got to play the game with, the way you're supposed to communicate, the consistency to do my job, and those type of things. So we got a ways to go, but we have the time to do it. So as long as we make progress like I thought we did today, and we continue to do that, then I don't know if it'll be game 1, but hopefully maybe it's by game 2, 3, 4, somewhere in there. We're getting to that mark. We got guys that can play the game, and we're not losing anything drop off. And it creates a lot of depth on your defense.
Got 2 more, Jason and then Brian.
Ron, you talked about the linebackers, the depth there. Obviously, you've added some pieces, but what have you seen out of some holdover guys that we didn't see much of last year? Eugene Asante and Robert Woodyard. How have those guys progressed really since the spring, too?
Yeah, I think Eugene has made some huge strides, like the things we're talking about. He's a physical talent, runs well, plays hard, plays with excitement, emotions. He's all that kind of stuff you're looking for. We're just trying to really through the summer. I thought he did a good job though of understanding the defense more, and that's put him in a spot that right now he's in a spot to go compete for a starting job. Robert, same thing. Again with him, he's young, and he's still trying to figure this thing out. He's got to. I think the next 10 days will be big for him. That's what I say. If you want to get in the hunt, it's about consistency on a daily basis.
Yes, Ron. I remember in the spring, Kyan Lee and Keldrick Falk were guys who stood out early as far as the freshmen go. Any of the new freshmen caught your eye so far through the first 3 or 4 practices?
There's a lot of them, really. I mean, I think I think we have a very talented, especially I think the skill positions, the DB positions. I think we got a really talented group. So I would say all of them has flashed at times, just not on a consistent basis. But I think that's coming, and hopefully we'll see it maybe Saturday.
All right, thank you, Coach. Thanks, Ron.
Okay, thank you guys.